My name is Nathan Cole, and I was 38 years old when I died for 97 seconds on the operating table. Or at least, that's what the doctors told me when I woke up in a cold, sterile hospital room, alone. What they didn't tell me, what they couldn't possibly know, was that the real pain wasn't from the triple bypass surgery. It was from finding out that while I was unconscious, clinging to life, the woman I trusted with everything had drained our joint accounts, pawned my grandmother's heirloom watch, and vanished with my entire life savings. My wife, Lena. We'd been together for 10 years. 10 years of slow-burning sacrifices, of late-night ramen and shared dreams. I'd built a successful logistics consultancy from the ground up, turning it into a steady six-figure business. She handled the bookkeeping. She always said spreadsheets calmed her anxiety. I thought it was sweet. Turns out, she was just quietly learning how to bleed me dry. The morning I woke up, there were no flowers by the bed, no hand to hold, just a silent phone and a bank app that wouldn't open, password changed. But here's what Lena didn't know. I saw this coming, all of it, and I was already 3 steps ahead. They say betrayal makes a man bitter. But I wasn't bitter. I was focused. Because 3 months before the heart attack, something changed. I started noticing little signs. Lena working late, closed laptop screens when I walked in, calls she took in the garage. Then there were the missing invoices, the delayed payments to vendors I knew had been processed. So I hired someone, Trevor Wu, a cybersecurity expert I'd met at a conference in Denver. Quiet guy, had a sharp sense of justice and owed me a favor after I helped him negotiate a nightmare contract with a logistics giant. In less than 48 hours, Trevor traced a shell trail, offshore accounts, a burner email, and a private chat between Lena and a man named Trey, a sleazy real estate broker in Miami who had just filed for divorce himself. But instead of confronting her, I smiled. I said nothing. Step 1 was letting her think she had full control. I quietly opened a new account under an alias, Colin Nash, and moved the bulk of my business profits into it. Slowly, over weeks, just a few grand at a time, masked as vendor payments. She never noticed. Step 2, I moved the deed to our house into a land trust. Legally, Lena had no claim anymore, even though she thought she still did. That house? The one she tried to sell while I was in the hospital. She didn't own a damn brick of it. Step 3. I left bait. I left just enough in our shared accounts to make her think she'd gotten it all. I also let her access my cold storage wallet for crypto, the one with $11,200 in it. Not the one with over $300,000 in Ethereum locked behind multi-sig authentication that she didn't know existed. When I got out of the hospital, I checked in with Trevor. He had been tracking Lena and Trey. They were already in Tulum, sipping overpriced margaritas, thinking they were free. But then came the hook. I filed a fraud report with the bank and presented evidence of unauthorized withdrawals, screenshots, forensic logs, access histories. But I didn't ask the bank to reverse anything. That wasn't the point. The point was control. While they celebrated in Mexico, Lena was slowly starting to realize that the cash wasn't enough. The crypto wallet had been emptied, the house she'd promised Trey, legally never hers, and the identity theft charges, building quietly like a storm. And me, I had already rebuilt. You see, while Lena was running away with what she thought was the last of my money, I signed a deal with Baxford & Company, one of the largest freight analytics firms in the country. They'd been after me for months to bring my platform into their portfolio. The day I got out of the hospital, I finalized a deal worth $2.1 million in equity and cash. I didn't just survive, I leveled up. But I wasn't done yet, because revenge is a dish best served legally. I had every transaction Lena made recorded. Trevor had it timestamped, geotagged, documented. Her messages with Trey included plans to fake documents, forge my signature, and lie to banks. Wire fraud, identity theft, tax evasion. The FBI doesn't like those words. I contacted an attorney, Meredith Shaw, sharp as a whip and with a reputation for dismantling fraud rings. She'd lost her father to a similar con and had no sympathy for manipulators like Lena. By the end of that week, Lena and Trey were served at a beachside villa, in front of guests no less. The look on her face, I'm told, was priceless. Lena's arrest didn't make the headlines, yet. But it made the rounds where it mattered, in courtrooms, in banking compliance offices, in private message chains of the same women's networking groups she used to flaunt me in. She and Trey were detained at Cancun International Airport trying to board a flight to Barcelona. Lena claimed it was a romantic getaway. The feds had other names for it: flight risk, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit identity theft, and attempted tax evasion. They spent 48 hours in a Mexican detention center before being extradited back to the U.S. I didn't press every charge. I wasn't out for blood, just truth, accountability, and closure. By the time the case reached pretrial, Trey had flipped on her. He handed over everything: how Lena forged my digital signature, her plan to sell the house that she didn't know she didn't own, how she'd gloated about milking the idiot husband during my surgery. I watched it all from my attorney's office, the recordings, the transcripts. It wasn't pain I felt. It was relief. I had confirmation I wasn't crazy. Lena pled guilty to 2 felony counts, received 18 months of supervised probation, and was ordered to pay restitution, though there wasn't much left to squeeze from her. Trey walked with a deal, lost his brokerage license, and started working part-time at a car wash in Tampa. Fitting. The house, safe. The crypto, untouched. My new contract with Baxford, flourishing. But the real victory came not in what I reclaimed, but in what I built. 6 months later, I launched CoalLink, an AI-powered logistics dashboard that helps small freight companies compete with giants. Within 3 months, it was being used by over 200 clients nationwide. Trevor came on as CTO. Meredith joined our legal advisory board. We weren't just a startup. We were a movement. I started speaking at tech expos, mentoring young founders. I even launched a podcast called 3 Steps Ahead, where I shared how to turn betrayal into blueprint. The first episode, how my wife tried to ruin me and failed. It hit 2 million downloads in a week. It was a gray October afternoon when I saw her again, outside a courthouse. Lena looked drained. Not the glamorous, manicured woman I once loved. She wore a thrift coat, no makeup. Her eyes darted when she saw me. She approached slowly, like someone approaching a cliff. "Nathan, I raised my hand. "You don't owe me words," I said calmly. "But you do owe the truth to yourself." She swallowed hard. "You were always 5 steps ahead." 3 was enough, I said, then turned to leave. I never saw her again. Today, I live in a loft above a cafe in Boulder, Colorado. My mornings start with espresso and end with emails from partners in Tokyo, Berlin, and Dubai. I travel. I laugh again. I've even started seeing someone who knew nothing about my past and fell in love with the man, not the headlines. And most importantly, I trust again, not because I forget what happened, but because I remember who I became through it. Nathan Cole didn't just survive betrayal. He turned it into a blueprint for legacy.